lot of fun going through this analysis. I'm Kevin Alvarez, this is Drake, Tate, and Caleb. And today we're just going to be talking a little bit of our findings, what we found out about Autoliv and the Nissan. So kind of our goal going through this presentation, as well as we were building our analysis, we wanted to strengthen, we're thinking about strengthening Keiretsu through improving our relationship, while striving together to reduce waste, lower cost, and share those savings with Nissan. Kind of moving forward, we were, as we were reading the analysis and going through our numbers, we were thinking, okay, Nissan's really pushing us for this Think event. They're also pushing to find those cost savings. So that's just kind of the route we took. When we first began, we were like, so what, we took a step back. We were like, well, where do we begin? How much of our product is going to Nissan? So in our analysis, it was given that in 2016, Renault and Nissan made up 13% of the pie. And we also found the financial statement for the ending fiscal year of 2017 saying that, yes, they still kept that 13% of Autoliv sales were going to Nissan. So that's just kind of like the benchmark that we went off of to base off our numbers that we derived from the data. And then we identified the problem. So what's really going on with Autoliv and Nissan? So Nissan was turning to this Sugri methodology, which means product, the art of process of making something. But they were also pushing to make those improvements with the suppliers, being Autoliv. And that was putting a lot of pressure on Autoliv because they were searching for ways, like I said, to find those cost savings. And they also believe that our operations from Ogden to the MPC, that's really where we could save the most. So that's what we focused on throughout this presentation.
Yes. Once we found that out, we really identified what the problem was, what Nissan was looking for, and obviously with them being one of our biggest customer right now, we wanted to service them any way that they could and really strengthen that family relationship that we have with Nissan. And so the first thing we want to look at really is what's the cost and benefit of making this change. And Nissan really does want to take over all their shipping directly from Ogden to their facilities instead of going through the cross-dock location. What would that impact look on our numbers, the benefits as well as the costs? So the first thing we looked at was our annual shipping savings. After that, we looked at our profit from handling, what we're able to charge Nissan additionally because of that cross-dock location. And then also, if they took that over, what would our savings look like with not having to manage the totes anymore with Nissan? So this is what we found. So this is just a typical cost-benefit analysis setup here. But the thing that hit us the hardest was the profit loss of $790,000. And that was just directly from the numbers that were provided from management that we're able to charge Nissan. So over the year, in 2018, with our projected sales and using that 13% number, we would see a loss of $790,000. As well, we would see an increase in our shipping rates because we would no longer be able to go through CRE when it's such a big quantity because Nissan would be taken out of that picture, right? All of our other customers are still there, but Nissan's no longer in there. So CRE would, of course, we would expect and assume that their shipping rates would go up with less traffic. And with that increase, we see about a $644 increase per truck built to our cross-dock location for our other customers. Additionally, though, with that, with less traffic through shipping, we're also going to see some savings, right? Less trucks going out per year with less product that we have to manage shipping for. And that came up to be about $75,000 of annual savings. And then the biggest savings we would see is just in the totes. As we ran the numbers for that, the cost savings in reducing tote consumption and maintenance would come out to be about $390,000. When we net all of that together, if Nissan did decide to take over their own shipping, we would see about a net loss of $323,000 annually from those numbers.
Okay, so after doing a quantitative analysis about the different, about what sort of, what we would deal with if Nissan did take over the shipping, we turned toward looking at qualitative analysis to see how we could solve this loss. Through our SWOT analysis, we determined that the strengths are pretty strong. Although we can continuously improve, they're pretty good right now, and so that's not one of our big focuses right now. Right now, we're going to be looking more at our weaknesses and our opportunities. So some weaknesses that is the cost of the shipping and handling, going from Ogden clear to the MPC facility. It costs a lot of money. There's also the opportunity of the growing market share and different facilities opening up further in the east. So we're still out of place over here in Ogden. So we are looking at moving closer to Alabama, and we also see opportunities in passive safety devices and opportunities in eliminating that big cost of shipping. Yeah, go ahead and next slide. So after identifying what sort of strengths and weaknesses that the company is dealing with within themselves, we wanted to find out what sort of resources and capabilities we have to solve these threats and opportunities. So we looked through Autoliv's sort of operations and what they're best at, and we've come up with that they're really good at employee empowerment, creating autonomous facilities, and continuous improvement. So with the VRIMO analysis, we've sort of come to the conclusion that opening another facility looks like a good plan for us because we do have really strong capabilities in creating more facilities. So our strategic recommendation is advise Nissan not to take over their own trucking logistics and consider expanding the MPC capabilities and processes by expanding over in Tennessee instead of remaining here in Ogden. We also would like to take advantage of that East Coast positioning because as you can see, there's a lot more activity going on over here than there is over here.
Okay, so as Tate kind of talked about, we are going to lose money if Nissan takes over their own shipping. So how can we protect ourselves as Autoliv from losing money and potentially hurting our relationship with Nissan? So what we did is we focused on the Nissan Thanks initiative to try to kind of form it in a way that will help us and help them through their own initiative. So if we look at trust, people say trust is kind of the most overused word in global supply chain. You know, what does it really mean? Is it actually something that we can rely on? But to make sure we can rely on it, we can show that Nissan, with the investment of their own shipping, would have to invest over 171 initially in totes in their own process. By relocating in 4 years, because currently we have a 5-year contract at Autoliv at our building right now in Ogden. I think we're a year into it, so we have 4 years ago. So we were talking about moving, but it's kind of like a forecast. It's in 4 years. But in those 4 years, we have this set up to try to make sure our revenue stays the same or as close as it is right now, so that we don't lose money for the next 4 years and slowly bleed out with if Nissan took their own shipping.
That contract is
Yeah.
cross-dock location.
Cross-dock? Okay. So Nissan, so with the trust, we kind of show them, hey, right now these are some of the numbers of funding your own shipping, your money going into totes. Just try to show them that they would be losing some money, taking it on to themselves. Then we move to the end. Actually, we'll move to the HA, the Harmonious, kind of getting together. They have this culture, building Nissan as almost like a family, kind of like a Japanese culture, that we can, you know, sit down, find some middle ground to find a way that we can find benefits within ourselves and with them without pushing them away or just allowing them to move on. Nissan, show that if when we do move, we can consolidate all our shipping. Show them, like Evan said, they're wanting to see how we can reduce costs in our fulfillment ops. So if we move our location from Ogden to the MPC cross-dock, centralize everything close to our customers, which will reduce costs, and we'll be able to so that we can gain that gap to be able to be more fluid with choices in the future. K, the Kaizen activity. With Nissan Thanks Initiative, they have this Kaizen First, which what they do is they send employees and people from their company to, let's say, us, Autoliv, for 4 days, kind of going through our company, our processes, doing like a tour of the facility, see how things are run, and try to help Autoliv seek those opportunities to improve. It's always nice to have fresh eyes coming into your company, and Nissan has a program set up to help their suppliers become more efficient. And then S, like I just said, they actually do a follow-up after they do their initial Kaizen First to make sure that their suppliers are kind of taking the recommendations, seeing if they are improving and things are going well, and kind of work side by side to improve Autoliv. So one of the instant benefits of us moving to our process, relocating, is we cut out over $4 million instantly in cost of delivery. Right now, with 4 to 6 trucks leaving on a daily basis between our cross-dock and Autoliv and vice versa, those costs that we calculated would be over $4 million that we would save.
And we'd still see a small, of course, with the promontory and Fremont locations where we're building the explosives for the initiator for the airbag. From what we understood from the tours, that would still have to be held in Utah because of the safe location of the desert. We'd still see small shipping, so that 4 million number, some of that would still have to remain in Utah. But as far as everything else and everything coming out of Ogden, we would see instant cost savings of not having to ship it all the way to Tennessee from Ogden, but building it in the cross-dock location.
So we talked about, we did an analysis of what would we do with the building here if we relocate to the cross-dock. What would we use this facility for? Kate kind of talked about the ignitions and having that still here in Utah, but we'd also keep the active safety production here in Utah and move the passive safety production to the new cross-dock facility where our home would be. The reason we do that is with the active safety growth, we looked at the map of different customers and we saw that Tesla, who relies on active safety, is one of the biggest contributor of that, is stationed here, or stationed in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, which is closer here than it would be in the East Coast. So we would have companies on the West Coast that would rely on active safety, be able to have their product shipped from the Ogden location. And with the growth in Europe being 30% of our market and the projections, we figured if we move closer to the East Coast, we'd be able to reduce costs as well in shipping and be able to open up that market more. And also, we found out through management at Autoliv that companies like Toyota and Mazda are building facilities that are about $1.3 billion in Alabama. And with the recent situations with Takata and us getting closer with Toyota, we felt like it would definitely be an advantage and a benefit to us as Autoliv to move our location closer to Alabama and closer to Toyota to strengthen that relationship with Toyota. And I want to finish with reading this quote by the CEO of Autoliv, Jan Carlson. She said, "With a strategic review concluded, we now continue the process with full focus on the successful introduction of our 2 business segments as standalone companies during 2018. We're excited about the strategic opportunities for both our current business segments and separate companies." And at this time, we'll take the questions.
Thank you guys for the presentation. So in your analysis, just throughout, I didn't see anywhere, and maybe just wasn't obvious, where inventory or risk costs were evaluated either for Nissan or for Autoliv. Is that anywhere part of your analysis when you're evaluating the costs associated with either alternative?
Yeah, so no, that is one thing we did talk about briefly in our analysis. Because obviously with, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing that, and understanding flow, production flow, and things like that, that whether we moved to, whether our inventory is moving to Tennessee or staying in Ogden, we're still going to see the same demand from Nissan, correct? Whether it's from the crosstalk or from Ogden. Now, of course, that inventory will, because Nissan comes less frequently than our trucks come to take it to Tennessee, we would see a fluctuation in our inventory. Our inventory would build up, their truck would pick up, and it would shrink back down. We kind of see that fluctuation. So that would take up more floor space, obviously, in the Ogden facility if we were to stay in Ogden. But that would require more inventory to be on the road at any given time on its way to Nissan as they're picking up those trucks. So there would be an increase in their cash type inventory as well. But as far as Ogden's concerned, we just have to have more floor space to hold that inventory as it builds up for their trucks to come pick it up.
But in one way or the other, somebody's going to be having to transport that, right?
Yes.
So currently, we take on that risk, all we're doing this. But if Nissan were to take it, they would take on that risk. So I just wondered if that was part of the cost evaluation you did.
Yeah, so do you want to go back to the numbers slide as well, so we can talk about it?
And I think part of what she's looking at is whether it's a 4 to 6 hour transit from the Memphis location to whichever Nissan farm it is, or a 32-hour transit. There's still risk involved.
Yeah.
There's always weather. There's always something.
Okay. So the way we analyze this, I want to see if I'm understanding the question right. But yeah, the way we had that is so if Nissan takes over, now they're going to be going from their locations both northern and southern Tennessee, driving all the way to Ogden. So if they take on their own shipments, that's where we analyze the amount of totes that they have to buy themselves, because they currently have 100. So when we ran our numbers, I think they did about 400 totes, right?
Yeah, because we need to go from a 7-day inventory of totes to a 20-day inventory of totes.
So we put that into account. We just took the ratio of what it is and expanded that. So now they'd have to do another additional investment of 300 totes more. So not only are they buying stuff to now carry out their logistics directly, but also because we're not taking on the risk of distributing that to them, that would just be the risk on that one. So how do we put that?
I think we're talking more like the actual product, not just the totes.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the totes in there, but that product is valuable too. And if we lose that product somewhere in transit, then currently Autoliv takes on that cost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's obvious.
If we lose a truck of material and it gets damaged, that's our cost versus if Nissan were to take it on, that cost no longer is Autoliv, that's Nissan's cost.
Exactly. That's one of the things that, and it's, it's said in the information we got from management, it was really hard to kind of quantify that risk. How do we quantify that? And how we saw those, right now we have insurance that does cover the product, right? If the truck does go down. But of course, that risk is huge. I think it was 6 to 7 trucks that were lost last year just in transportation, going through Wyoming and things like that. So that's a huge cost savings for us, obviously. If we don't have to take on that risk anymore, now Nissan does. But if they're willing to take over that management, that's something that they're going to have to be willing to do. And how we present that to them would have to be very strategic. And this is how much it's going to cost you if you're really willing to do that. So.
Well, here on this page, can you, I think I just was thinking of other things, but can you explain where you got that 13% for the increase for shipping rates?
Yeah, so this is just an assumption we made based on, go back one more slide, or maybe a few more. Or sorry, keep going back. One more, right there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they are 13% of our sales. So we assumed with that 13% would also carry over into shipping costs. That if we're going to lose 13% of our business, then our rates are also going to go up 13%.
Because that 13% of the whole is going to be lost.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And that's what they would be taking on themselves.
But at the same time, we still have those truckloads. that's the consolidation of a cross dock, right?
Yes.
Those trucks are still gonna be moving, so there's really not a benefit there for us.
Is there gonna be fewer trucks leaving though, because Nissan takes up such a big portion of the pie, won't that reduce the amount of trucks going from?
There probably would be a reduction in the trucks, but the thing that has to be remembered is that cross-dock does not only ship Nissan.
Yes.
There's Honda, there's Toyota, there's lots of other customers too, and so whether we ship direct or not, we still need to sustain and support all those routes.
Yes.
So are you looking at the transportation cost between Utah and the city of Bellingham? Because if Nissan's picking up the total amount of all their freight, then that will fall out of Autoliv's bucket. So that would, then the amount of freight that they're giving the CRE or whatever would decrease the amount that they're getting. So
they're
depending on that, the cost would go up. I don't know if 13%.
We just be a
It
straight
depends on
across, I think, is probably-
yeah, it would be a straight cross. It's going to be negotiable.
Okay.
We didn't really outsource to see what would actually happen with the contractors here, because that wasn't getting in our analysis. So that's why we just went with the 13% chunk, and we just kind of kept that, ran on.
Try another nominal value.
Yeah, to put a nominal value of what would happen if Nissan transitions into taking their own loads.
Perfect, makes sense. I think Wendell gave that connection anyway, so makes sense.
So another thing I noticed, you guys, if you go back to your SWOT analysis page, I think one of the important things to bring up is some of the threats that you have listed on there. And aside from that too, I mean, you also need to have a SWOT analysis for your assumption of moving your facility farther east, because it's a great idea to say, okay, let's move closer to our customer, but we also have to remember we've got customers all over the place, and yes, a lot are in the Midwest, but what is the risk of moving that facility? Because we may be saving, what was it, $4 million or something is what you guys, that's with Nissan. We have to look, we've got Ford, we have GM, we have Tesla, we have Toyota, and there's a lot of cost involved in making a manufacturing facility and doing all of that development. And so I know you guys didn't have the understanding of all of that, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or.
So when we're looking at the map, we just generalized. If we move to Tennessee, now we're a lot closer to the majority of the companies, the OEMs. So that's where we're seeing the biggest savings in just leaving out the transit. And so that's why we decided to move it. But I understand, it'll affect relationships. Like all the other numbers with our other OEMs will change as well. We just weren't provided that information.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But yeah, we did consider it in our analysis, and that's why we decided to move to Tennessee, just because we'll be a lot closer.
And we just hope that moving more centralized will reduce the cost for all the companies in that surrounding area as well.
So that 4.48 million, that was strictly
That was only
just shipping.
Just
shipping and handling.
So I don't know how these supply chain that well at all. But weird from outside, right? But so the products that they like the explosive stuff that they make out in the desert, that stuff will still have to transport from here all the way over. I think you mentioned in the presentation that the $4 million is actually a little bit less because of that. I think again, I don't know exactly all your products, but the majority of your products have that in it, wouldn't that cost be about the same as if you're shipping the finished product?
It would be a little bit less because
The size is,
the flavor is smaller than the pack size of the finished module,
but I don't think the cost difference, I don't think it would justify, it would still be at least half of what the savings would be, so that's something that definitely needs to be taken into consideration.
And I want to go back to a point you made earlier with that obviously the startup cost of moving a facility would be huge. I mean, maybe not as much as Toyota's $1.3 billion facility that they're building, in Alabama. But I mean, and just asking you, what would that cost look like? Do you think if you were to put a number to it, how big would moving a facility from Omni to Tennessee?
it would be, I don't even know how to put cost on that, but you gotta think, there's the labor cost, right?
Yeah.
Utah, in comparison to a lot of other states, it's kind of a lower labor versus Tennessee. I don't know what the difference would be. You gotta evaluate that. Training, yeah,
Moving
got,
management, senior management.
is the footprint of Memphis actually large enough to house our production cells along with our warehouses for raw material, and then actually transport all of that, because I know it would be a lot.
Well, and then just with the nature of automotive, it is a very controlled industry, and so the timing for qualifications to move a facility would take.
We have to get approvals from every one of our customers to move each individual production cell. Even if we move it on our production floor, which, I mean, that's obviously information you guys wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have your production floor, your production cells, you have to call Nissan and say, hey, this is our qualification, this is what we're gonna do, and they have to approve that qualification.
So
But that's
you guys-
obviously information you wouldn't have.
Well, time's up, so, question and answers. And you guys, leave the room for a little bit. We all, okay, everybody.
Just-